Greetings, folks. Today is Sunday, January the 20th, 2019. It is 2 years ago today that the most evil man to be president in my lifetime took the oath of office. Not that he meant it. He took an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, and he is not doing that. Why do I say he's the most evil man? Well, prior to him, the most evil man to be president in my lifetime was Lyndon Johnson. Well, Lyndon Johnson is no longer the most evil. Donald Trump is. I don't know whether to laugh or to shout. This man and his people are talking about a humanitarian crisis at the border. If there is a humanitarian crisis at the border, it's because of the unconstitutional immigration laws that we have. Greetings, folks. My name is Tom Lineweaver, and this is my commentary. Donald Trump, while talking about the humanitarian crisis at the border, is here creating humanitarian crisis in the United States. Have you talked to anybody on Section 8 lately? Now, I will admit that while I was trying to be president of the United States, I came up with a plan to end entitlements. But it was a compassionate plan. I was not going to yank people off of the programs that they needed without any kind of alternatives. If I would be president of the United States now instead of the bastard that we have, I would have been working with the states and the churches to come up with alternatives to housing assistance and food stamps, and also parts of Social Security. Now, Social Security is something that people have paid into. I'm certainly not going to yank them off of that program. So, my plan was to wean people off of it. Find alternatives before ending those programs. Not Donald Trump. I got an email from a friend of mine, well, actually an acquaintance, telling me that she is having trouble with Section 8 this year. Now, what this man is doing is creating homeless people. That's right. Let me tell you something. Without Section 8, I cannot afford full rent. I'm on SSI. You know, rents are $700, $800, $900, $1,000, $1,200. Wherever, no matter where you go, it's higher than what my monthly income is. But because of certain problems, I am about to lose Section 8. Now, the Section 8 workers in the county where I live were doing things that made no sense unless they got messages from higher ups saying you've got to wean your list. Got to get people off of Section 8. Why is it when there are economic problems in Washington, D.C., they always pick on poor people. Well, the Republicans do. Democrats don't so much, but so I'd be willing to bet that there are Section 8 recipients all over this country having problems. They're afraid. They're afraid to become homeless. And probably will be. Many of them will probably be homeless soon. Now, if the churches of America would be obeying the teachings of Christ, that might not be a problem. But they aren't. Not in a big way. I mean, religion controls about 20% of our economy. And what are they doing with it? Building great big buildings, buying time on the radio, buying time on TV. They are not helping poor people. It's ridiculous. Really is. But Donald Trump is making sure that people are losing their homes. And this is nothing new with Donald Trump. He has bought up houses. One lady, I think her last name was Coking. Look up that name in reference to Donald Trump. In Atlantic City, he wanted to build this Taj Mahal. Well, this lady fought and won. So they weren't able to take her house. You know, Donald Trump came up with this plan that the local government used eminent domain so he can build that building. You don't use eminent domain that way. You don't use eminent domain to give land to a private developer. That is unconstitutional. It has to be a public use. Like maybe building a post office or a road or whatever. It has to be public. Building the Taj Mahal is not public use. That's a private enterprise. So, Donald Trump has been putting people out in the streets, taking their homes, even in his private life. Now he's doing it as president. The man is evil. The man is very evil. And people are hurting because of him. Not just the government workers. Government workers are hurting, sure. But there are people in this country that have been hurting for a long, long time. And they're hurting even worse since Donald Trump became president of the United States. Well, hopefully 2 years from today, that will end. We need some compassion in Washington. There isn't any. And I have a hard time finding compassion in passionate, stumbling over my tongue again. I find it hard to find compassion in the churches of America too. And that's the problem. Part of the problem in America is there is no compassion. The Trump supporters, they don't care about people losing their homes. So anyway. So I find it hard. How do I explain this to you? How do I explain this to you? I am sure I'm not the only one that's having problems with Section 8. I'm sure the lady who sent me an email today is not the only one having trouble with Section 8. Chances are there are people all over this country having problems with Section 8 because of his policies. So if you think it's okay for people to be tossed out in the streets, then there's something wrong with you. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. I should be. I'm not watching Meet the Press today because I'm having digital interference with the local NBC affiliate. And that's because of the FCC doing things unconstitutionally. I mean, the FCC, their job was to oversee a treaty, and the treaty involved AM radio only. Of course, there may have been other treaties since then, but I know the communications treaty that we have with Canada and Mexico and a few other countries, maybe Cuba, because AM radio is the way it is, it travels further than what FM radio does. And so there had to be a treaty, and created clear channels for various different countries. Nowhere do they have the authority to change television as they did. They don't have that authority in the Constitution or anywhere else. Oh, yeah, we've got unconstitutional laws that give them that authority. And analog is something that is more pliable. We wouldn't have the digital problems if we had analog transmitters, but now, because of the FCC, they have to be digital. And now we have all kinds of digital problems. And I think it's probably because of the weather that I was having problems, so I can't watch Meet the Press. I did watch Fox News Sunday. Didn't have a problem with that station. Well, at any rate, but Mike Pence was on with Fox News Sunday, and he talked about the humanitarian crisis at the border. But I guess he doesn't care about the humanitarian crisis of people becoming homeless because of Donald Trump's policies. And he wants to call himself a Christian. Well, I'm sorry. If these people like Mike Pence are a Christian, I don't want to be one. I care about people more than that. So, okay, we're approaching 15 minutes. I didn't expect to take this long. But, yes, I do believe Donald Trump is the most evil president in my lifetime. He has risen above Lyndon Johnson. I don't know which is worse. Lyndon Johnson was pretty bad. The best president in my lifetime was Kennedy. I think Kennedy really liked people, cared about people. He wasn't perfect. He had made mistakes, but I think he really cared about people. Another one that cared about people was Jimmy Carter. Now, even though he cared about people, he done some things that shouldn't have been done, like taking us off the silver standard. Nixon took us off the gold standard, and now we have worthless paper money. Well, anyway, so we have a government that doesn't follow the Constitution. We have churches that don't follow the teachings of Christ. So what are we supposed to do? What are those of us in between supposed to do? Well, I don't know. Somebody has to be president of the United States that has some compassion. We need another Kennedy. That's my commentary for today. Thank you for listening.